You know that Andrew Dice Clay bit where he starts his show off? I guess Andrew Dice Clay is. I really got to get more contemporary, but he's made kind of a comeback, Clay, and used to do this. Clay doesn't smoke anymore, which is like, I guess, Foster Brooks without his ale. Again, I got to get more contemporary references, okay? I just, what? Snoop Dogg without his weed? I thought he gave it up anyway. But no, the circumstance that comes out now is that, it used to be Dice Clay would open up a show and he'd smoke a cigarette. Just start there looking cool. And, he had that way of how he would light the cigarette with the lighter, all these big gestures and exaggerated and all this sort of stuff, did it on, what was the movie he did on? 16 Candles was the movie he did it on, if you're a child of the 80s and all that. And I began, but this is the thing. Then he comes out and he says, for the last minute, you've been watching me just stand on the stage smoking a cigarette because I'm that damn good. Well, I'm Marky Billson. The name of the show is Tri-City Sports Now on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, www.jetbroadcasting.live. And you know what? I began the show giving my thoughts on a movie that's 2 years old, on an incident that's 25 years old, and yeah, it's sport, but it's not one that people talk about that much on sports talk shows, figure skating. And then I talked about ETSU baseball, which will get 150 people in the seats. And then I talked about the St. Louis Blues going to the Stanley Cup Finals, which is not necessarily the traditional East Tennessee sports talk. But you listened. Why? Because I am that damn good. All right. Now, just speaking of this, last week I should be pointed out that the Predators, speaking of hockey, the Nashville Predators, they agreed to stay in Nashville for the next 30 years. Now, it wasn't as if, they were on, the real cusp of, could they move town? They're not the Jacksonville Jaguars here, folks, okay? They're not in that precarious of a state or anything. But Nashville Predators revealed a landmark proposal between the city of Nashville and the Predators last week involving a 30-year lease with Bridgestone Arena. Now, under the agreement, Bridgestone Arena would remain the home of the Preds until 2049. Will we even be alive then? Fans of the team. Now, I guess, there's always, you get people, they break leases and all that. But the Predators aren't in any, risk of going. This is good news and, so on and so forth. Anyway, fans of downtown Nashville and the team should rejoice in this because of the event that a game in Smashville has become, at least since they've been winning. I mean, come on. Stanley Cup Finals 2 years ago. A year ago, President's Trophy. This year, division title. You tell me. Kind of, I'm always this guy that says a big playoff diminishes the value of a regular season. But the thing is, when it's your team, then you pay attention. You probably don't pay that much attention to the Phoenix Suns, during the NBA season. But if the Suns are dreadful, but if they are, winning in the playoffs, then you start, your interest peaks up. Maybe you watch, I don't know, is the game on? You're a real big basketball fan or something like that, But still, the other good thing, though, is that the taxpayers in Nashville are so much off the hook, unlike the taxpayers in South Carolina, who are giving a lot of tax breaks and money to the Carolina Panthers to build a training facility in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And the way this was done is that supposedly they'll also give tax breaks to, say, factories that want to start up in poorer areas of South Carolina. That's the way that they are going to try to do that down there in the Palmetto State. I've always thought the Palmetto State of South Carolina should be called the Pine Tree State. But then again, when I lived there, I lived in Columbia. Enough said. Perhaps the most important part of the deal, at least for Metro Nashville, Davidson County residents, is that the new 30-year lease removes all obligations to the taxpayer for operating costs of the arena. Previously, Powers Management, the Predators' legal entity, had received upwards of $10 million a year for operations in the arena, which usually came to about $3.5 million. So, at least didn't use all of it, but still. Anyway, 12 years ago, there was a deal struck. The team was sold, and the city made efforts to keep it in Nashville. Those days are long gone. So for the next 30 years, it looks like, barring, something unforeseen, all of that. Yeah, Predators are staying put for maybe the rest of our lives, depending on how old we are, who can tell how we're going to live 30 years or not. Anyway, the Predators also announced they're planning a $350 million renovation and maintenance to Bridgestone Arena. It'll be drawn out. It'll go over 20 years. Sounds about right, and all this. But come 2021, if you go to a Predators game, there will be 1,200 more seats for you to buy. Me, I'm getting a new press box. And they're actually extending the old one. That's showing me that there is a lot of interest in hockey in Middle Tennessee. What is new arena, folks, in the Tri-Cities? Come on now. This is your ticket to a more cosmopolitan area. Not one that is shrinking. You keep hearing it. For all this time, they've told you, the area is growing. The area is growing. I had Brian Woodson, sports editor of Bristol Herald Courier, come on. Why'd you come back here to the Tri-Cities? The area is growing. And I said, well, all right. I can tell you this much. Used to be the market was 455,000. Now it's 473,000. But, as I always say, Las Vegas and the Tri-Cities 30 years ago, it's the same market size. 90 to 92 in terms of a TV market. Now, Las Vegas is 39th, and the Tri-Cities is 102nd. It's almost not in the top half. It's not in the top 100. It fell out this past year. Why? I mean, there's favorable tax structures. You want to talk about, building a factory or creating more jobs. People here, dare I say it, but it's true, work for less. So the labor costs aren't that much as compared to the Northeast or an area that has more of a union presence. Why is GM shutting down the factory in Lordstown, Ohio? Think about it. Why are they moving so many operations to China? Why is Donald Trump putting tariffs on China to try to prevent that? This is the whole thing. We've got wide open spaces. Could probably double the population of the Tri-Cities, and you'd never know it in terms of, area or something like that. Why isn't it? I'm going to tell you why. Because the area is, and I'm being complimentary when I say this, not cosmopolitan. And I mention a lot about the sports franchises that are oftentimes doohickey. We have the Appalachian League. We don't have a double-A team. Jackson, Tennessee has a double-A team. How in the world did Jackson, Tennessee get a double-A team and the Tri-Cities is left with, well, the utility the starting shortstop of this Johnson City Cardinals might someday become the utility infielder of the Chicago White Sox, like Pablo Ozuna or something, nightmare here. Anyway, but I'm trying to come out. I remember the mayor of Johnson City when saying to an interviewer, it's not necessarily shiny bells and whistles, attractions that make areas grow. What makes it grow are cheap labor and low taxes. Well, we have them here. Las Vegas has the bells and whistles. They've grown. Used to be the same size as here. We really haven't. We've shrunk in terms of the rest of the country. I'm saying that a night on the town in the Tri-Cities has got to be something other than church on Wednesday in order to attract the people in and for the area to grow. Now you get people that say, oh, we don't need it to grow. That's insularity. And that also is going to mean less money. So, just saying, less lucrative life for you. as well as kind of dull. That's what I try to do. I try to get, let's go more cosmopolitan and all this. Look what they're doing to Bridgestone Arena. They're building onto the press box. That means that there's tons of attraction for hockey here. New arena in this area, more concerts, more shows, cosmopolitan, not even the sports fans. So many benefits. How about getting it done? And oh yeah, we get an ECHL team, theoretically at least, something Roanoke, Asheville, and Knoxville they don't have. Then we beat them. Teresa Gennaro is next.
Neighborhood Ford.